Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Barbell. Today I wanted to dive into an explanation of some of the common practices and potential value of training with certain styles, but specifically submaximal style training, and why I think it has a lot of merits. The cornerstone of the whole idea will be the relationship between intensity and volume, but we do need a timeline to look at when we're having the conversation. So if we're talking about peaking for a competition, I would agree. Most people need higher average intensities and lower average volumes in order to recover from that intensity, but I don't think the difference is as big as people think. If we're talking about a whole week and averages, there will be harder sets and sessions, but that doesn't mean that every set and every session in those periods of training need to be extremely hard in order to have value. And in fact, the opposite is probably true. This session I'm doing probably isn't that interesting on its own, but it does bring up two of the major points in the equation: power output and technique acquisition. My goal isn't to get too technical and to go too far out into the physiological level that'd be well outside my expertise anyway, but I will do my best to bring in some of the available research as I understand it to help us out here. So even though this is a very light session for me, as I'm just coming back from my little hip flare-up, we can see that all of the working sets that I'm doing are being done with maximal intent on every rep. Fiber recruitment and force production are not necessarily load dependent, but much more so effort dependent. So you don't necessarily need maximal weight on the bar in order to train those things and achieve many of the neurological gains that most people are well aware of contributing to strength, as long as you are moving the weight with full intent on every rep. The lighter the reps with higher velocity also give me plenty of opportunities to practice good reps and not be affected by fatigue. This allows me to do more good reps in the position that I want to achieve those neurological and perceptual gains in the positions that I want to be in. This doesn't mean that super light loading on its own is going to lead to a new squat PR, but it does add value to our training. The next major point is going to be that research consistently shows that higher training volumes lead to higher rates of progress in both strength and hypertrophy, but that's not without its limits. No one can train with infinite volume, especially in the presence of higher average loads or RPEs. Closer proximity to failure leads to much higher recovery times. This can cascade through our training in a number of damaging ways. The first way would be that likely our next session is harder than intended, snowballing the previous fatigue in ways that were not intended in the programming. Your next session will be hard because of the longer than expected recovery times, and if it's not adjusted for, the problem will just continue. Especially if this happens prematurely in a block, and each week has a planned progression, making the early sessions in that block too hard can be particularly problematic because the increased likelihood of following sessions being harder than intended, and then we just end up struggling to finish the block rather than improving throughout it. Secondly, higher fatigue means a decreased rate of force production and decreased skill in those lifts. This would mean a higher likelihood of bad reps or misgrooves. These reps do nothing to further our training and can decrease some of the potential progress we made from only doing those good reps in our lighter sessions. The less consistent our reps are, the more consistently inconsistent they will be. Too many hard reps is where this problem starts. This doesn't mean we shouldn't have hard sets. Hard sets are absolutely necessary for increasing strength gains and showing up where it matters most, on the 1 rep max. Just like there are neurological gains from moving lightweight quickly, there are just as profound gains by moving heavyweight with intent. This is where the common practice of top sets at RPE 8 has taken such firm roots. It makes sense adding together all these variables that we get some practice with a load that's challenging but not maximal. That rep doesn't significantly impede the recovery and can potentially improve some of the work behind it. The art is finding the balance of how much volume the individual needs to improve, how much heavy work do they need to have the skill and confidence to move the heavy weights well, and what is the relationship between those two on that person's performance and recovery. The take-home message is that hard reps and hard sets are not bad, but they do have to be done in a way that doesn't impact the integrity of the rest of the planned work. You might see immediate progress from heavier work in the short term, but that does have a higher potential risk and a higher chance of negatively affecting other variables in your training that are having a larger impact than you're accounting for. So I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.